Great morning, world. Great morning, humans. This is your boy, Dr. J.C. Doornick, aka the Dragon. Looking forward to seeing who is ready to reclaim control today with me. Big shout out to all of the channels. Interesting situation when you can stream live to many channels. We got Instagram, we've got our Rise Up with Dragon Facebook community, we've got the Bright Side Facebook page I run, Instagram, everything. And what's interesting about that, as we warm up and get ready, great morning, Vicky. Great morning, folks. Great morning to the Make Sense community, right? Make Sense Academy and school. See some of you guys joining in. I see all these people doing these cold plunges, and I get it. I mean, the science is there, and it's a great, great idea. I've got my own version of doing that. But my version of the cold plunge is actually to go live in front of a bunch of human beings every day and just shock the heck out of my system. It's something I've been doing for years and years and years, and I highly recommend it. If you want to get rid of fear, anxiety, and things like that, just push yourself into the thing that scares you. And eventually you start to get comfortable with it, I would assume, like that cold water. Although those guys never really look like they're comfortable in the cold water. It looks like it keeps on shocking them. So great morning, world. Great morning, humans. I am in my new Rise Up with Dragon studio, which is kicking it old school like they do in Silicon Valley. I'm in a garage now. So you'll see the new background as of tomorrow in the Make Sense community. But there's something really, really cool. I don't know if there's anybody out there that uses their garage for work, but there's just something very, very cool and connected to the creative process about being in a garage. Now, I'm doing it partly because of that, but also because we have some family coming to stay with us, and that they'll be using my office. But anyway, I love it. I love it. And if a spider crawls across my face or something like that, you guys will enjoy the shock value. So great morning, everyone. Great morning, Colleen. Great morning to all the folks in the Make Sense community. So this is a live podcast. This is being recorded for our podcast, and it's, YouTube and all that stuff. But it's called Rise Up with Dragon. And I like to call it the uprising of the sleepwalking masses. It's a daily live morning show that's live streamed, as you can see here, but that only happens once a week in the general public. We've got an awesome, awesome private community where it's more intimate, and all of our members in there, it's almost like being coached by me and mentoring with me. We meet every morning. We come up with topics. We work that brain muscle and get ourselves thinking. And it's all about creating a more efficient and effective system of perception and response, the things that we actually control. And that's about becoming the dominant force of your life, the shot caller of your life. So if you like that idea about stepping into structure in a community full of like-minded, solution-focused, judgment-free people that will challenge you, just come and hit me up in the I'll put that up there. Just hit me up in the comments or via DM. Just say the word community and I'll send you a link. We've got a free community that you can come in and be inspired. We've got online courses and all that stuff. Everybody in our school community gets everything that we do for, I think, $24 a month. So anyway, great morning, Lori. I see you. So let's get started. So the whole concept of Rise Up with Dragon is, to be able to hear something or learn something that we interface with, and rather than react to it and respond right away with our program response, we just kind of stop and we pause and we think about it and we break those things down. So in this environment, very much connected to this topic today, we're very, very open and curious to learning more and growing, even if that means acknowledging that we may be wrong, right? Are you open and curious and able to admit that you're wrong about certain things? Well, today's Rise Up is called Reasonably Wrong. And if you can grab this one, man, you're going to have an awesome, awesome day. And we'll call that an awesome day of you out of the way. So here is what I read. I'm reading a book. We always go through a book of the month in the community, and this book that we're reading right now, it's just awesome. I've read it before, by Adam Grant. It's called Think Again. In a nutshell, what Grant talks about in here is that high performers, high achievers have the ability to rethink things. It's not about second guessing yourself. It's just about the idea of rethinking things. Powerful, powerful book. So we're taking things that we learn in there and we break them down. And one of them was how Grant talks about the power of being wrong, and its connection with high performance people that always follow through and that always seem to get lucky and grab their destination and goal. They have the ability to admit that they're wrong. They actually get excited about it. So the author of Thinking Fast, he talks a lot about Daniel Kahneman. He obviously knows him very well. He calls him Danny. So for those of you that are Dan Kahneman friends or fans, he wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, just juggernaut book. We'll probably discuss that in the group. So basically, Kahneman went and heard Grant speak at a lecture. I mean, imagine that. And he laughed with joy after hearing something that Grant spoke about. And he said, haha, I was wrong. And then when asked why he almost expressed joy and excitement, this is what Grant is saying to Kahneman. He was excited to find out after the lecture that he was wrong. Oh my God, I was wrong. And he laughed about it. And when he was asked why he was expressing excitement and joy about finding out that he was wrong, he stated this. So here's a big one for the day. If you like to write things down in the community, all of these things will be there. All of our show notes. So being wrong is the only way that I can feel sure that I'm learning anything, that I've learned anything. Being wrong is the only way that I can feel sure that I've learned anything. So Grant went on to remind us after that Kahneman is a scientist. Think about what a scientist does. Scientists are devoted to the truth. They're fact checkers. They're not concerned with being right. So there's the inflection point for today's Rise Up. When I heard that, I said, And I put up a post the other day. Just to give you an example, I just put up an idea that I don't even know if it was true, but I just saw in kind of the fake news that Jay-Z, and this was yesterday, if you want to go check it out on all the social medias, I said Jay-Z had his cousin ask him if he could borrow $4,800, which is like you giving somebody a penny out of your money. And this, as the story goes, Jay-Z said, no, it doesn't work that way. Now that's just an opinion, right? But if you look at all the comments, you'll see what humans look like when they're trying to be right. You know what I'm saying? Rather than just in our environment, we go, not sure, right? Let's talk about it. Let's look at all the angles. So that spawned this idea combined with this book I'm reading called Reasonably Wrong. So I just love the words. Let's say that I've come to love those words, reasonable and wrong. I've come to learn those, to love those words. Most of my life, this is my Rise Up today. So I kind of bob and weave out of what I write. So most of my life has been lived within reason and therefore been reasonable. Are you living a reasonable life? Right? That could sound good, or that could all of a sudden shock you and say, Jesus, I'm being reasonable. However, if I look at any periods of growth in my book coming out in January called Make Sense, you'll see that I talk about life as a line, and it goes through different periods. And I notice these little inflection points where I experience massive exponential growth, right? And expansion or acceleration. I can correlate them to being unreasonable and acceptant of being wrong. Think about what that means to, first of all, be one of the crazy ones that doesn't live a normal life, lives an abnormal and unreasonable life, but then also accepting that you're wrong, therefore creating the foundation for growth. That's why these people, these high performers, get excited when they find out that they're wrong. It's an opportunity for growth. Not too different than when Ryan Holiday or one of the Stoics say, the obstacle is the way, right? Same thing. All the messages are the same. They just get interpreted differently. So I can correlate them to being unreasonable and acceptant of being wrong. I've learned that in order to grow, I must get out of my comfort zone. I mean, we all know that. And therefore be unreasonable and embrace my weaknesses and wrongnesses. Can you embrace and accept your weaknesses and your wrongness? Right? Your state of being wrong. I mean, this helps in relationships, but it's also massively important in personal growth. So I've also spent most of my life trying to rack up all these points, fitness points and flex points, of my ego, my totalitarian ego of being right. Doesn't it feel good to find out you're right? But you can get caught up in trying to be right and projecting that you are. So I found myself debating others all the time about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just think about how hard we work at being right. Remaining open and curious as a truth seeker helped me remove myself from this point, or this version of me of trying to be the right guy. One of the most powerful moments in my life, and I'll give credit to this guy named Larry Markson, one of my mentors, is he asked me a question, and I asked it today on social media. I said, he said to me, what's more important to you, to be right or kind? And that was an inflection point of my life where I realized, and forgive me for I knew not what I did, but I realized in that moment that I was always trying to be right. Right. And I understand why. And I gave myself some grace, but I didn't leave myself open for being wrong and therefore growth. If you're right all the time, are you able to grow? Now, if you have an interpretation of that, I'm open to hearing about it because I'm still open and curious. Maybe by saying that you don't need to be right and that it would be better to be kind, maybe somebody has a different interpretation of it that is more right than what I'm saying. I'm open to it, but this is where I stand now. So remember, this is what's interesting about being right and or being wrong and accepting your weakness. Remember something, that it's only the darkness that you've experienced in your life that brings awareness and value to the light. How would you know? I've got this light shining in here in my studio. How would you know what the light was had you not experienced the dark? Do you see the power in admitting that you're wrong? And if you're a scientist and you're a fact checker, you actually get excited about being wrong, right? So this is a fun thing to do today. So in doing some research on highly successful people and resilient people, this is something that I submerge myself. I consume a lot of this stuff. I see a common trait among them all. They're often openly admitting to be unreasonable and wrong, right? So if you go watch that video, I forget who it is, but all the greats, here's to the crazy ones, I think it's called, on YouTube, famous video. They're all doing extraordinary things, abnormal things, and very unreasonable, some call it disruptive things. In the public eye, these people are always looked at first as disruptors. The story is the same every time. When somebody takes a left instead of a right, everybody looks at them and acknowledges that they're wrong and that they're disruptors. But isn't that the nature for growth, right? Tension, stress, challenge. That's where growth takes place, outside the comfort zone. Highly inconvenient to growth, right? So they're deemed unreasonable when they make these statements and they say, I'm going to go do this, like go to the moon or something like that, because they disrupt what the herd has deemed and protects to be right and the norm. That's what we call the norm. That's why I'm always interested in things that are abnormal, right? Because that's where growth is. You have to at least be open to it. And if you find yourself protecting the norm, you might find yourself in a stampede of the herd. And if you look at any statistics that you're not enjoying in life, they're herd statistics, right? So you always have to be open to taking a left and a right. Sometimes the herd makes the right decision. But if I look at my lifeline, my growth potential never accelerated during times that I followed the herd. So the herd mentality is to unconsciously protect the norm, what has been deemed the norm, rather than to leave it up for discussion. Are all things left open for discussion? Now, I would assume there's certain things, your core values and things that you stand, and protect and you'll die for. Maybe those are not open for discussion, but why not? Why not even just consider? The reason why is because when you believe something and your beliefs are more powerful than your core values, right? And this is going to be what we're going to discuss in our group. Remember, if you want to be in our group or even get access to it, our free community or our school community, just give me a comment that says community. DM me, put it in the comments in any of these channels, and I'll give you a link to get in there. So they almost excitingly welcome these people, right? These high achievers almost excitingly welcome being wrong, as it's the obstacle that shows them the way to being right. Let me read that again. These high achievers excitingly welcome being wrong as it poses as the obstacle that shows them the way to being right. Gary Vee is somebody that I really respect and I watch him. Everything that he talks about, he gets excited when somebody proves him wrong because it shows him what is right, or even what is right now, what is better. Everything's open for discussion. So as James Grant says in Think Again, listen to this. We're almost done. So the goal, if you think about this idea of the power of being wrong, that's what we're talking about. The goal is not to be wrong more often. That's not the goal. Like, you don't want to measure the metric that I'm wrong all the time and think that that means that you're moving towards right. It's not about being wrong more often. It's to recognize and just be open and curious to the fact that we're wrong more often than we'd like to admit. Now, when we think about who it is that admits that we're not wrong, that's our ego. That's that totalitarian ego that they speak about, right? And even more so, we deny it. We deny being wrong because we have to protect. We've been raised and wired to protect our right position. So the deeper the hole that we dig ourselves in by doing this, by this pattern of just trying to be right, and more importantly, not being open to the fact that we might be wrong. Okay. So this is super powerful for you today. And this is the concept of being in the Rise Up with Dragon community. And this is what we do when we interact with one another and with our courses. It's all about just saying, let's just at least look at it, even if it challenges your core beliefs and everything that makes you up. If you're open and curious to grow and you want to work on creating a more powerful footprint that you'll leave when you leave, right? Then it will enjoy this community, because nobody ever says what's right, but we always say, what about this? What about that? Right? And we just question things. So this is super powerful for you today because it grants you permission and positively promotes being the opposite of what tends to make you struggle. Think about that. Right? If you can see this right now and you're conscious, you can absorb the fact that one of the reasons that we struggle as human beings is because of our indoctrinated belief systems. Right? They get us into trouble. Even when we see that we might be wrong and somebody might have a better idea, if we're indoctrinated into something and it's a fear-based, concept of letting go of it, we're not even going to entertain something. Entertain it. Just entertain it. You don't have to absorb it. You don't have to absorb it as right, but can you at least entertain anything, right? So this is where you get a massive breakthrough in your personal growth and self-development. It means separating your past from your present, right? You have to learn how to separate your past and present. Think Again gives you a great example of that. And being excited to uncover what it is that you've been wrong and unreasonable about. Are you excited to uncover what you've been wrong and what you've been unreasonable about, right? Are you unreasonable, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but are you aware of it? That's what it is. Or are you sleepwalking with blindfolds on? So say it with me. I'm openly admitting that I may have been unreasonable and wrong about things, and I'm excited for and ready as a result of this. I'm open and curious and excited and ready to embrace the rewards being sent to me by an abundant universe. So love and appreciate you all. Love these comments that I see coming in. Remember, if you want to just join even our free community or even get access to our school community and engage in conversations that will set you up to claim control of your day, to become what I call a reality bender, just comment in any of the comments on any of these channels, community, and I will give you the link to get in there. Love and appreciate you all. And just remember, whatever you think is today is, and I'm okay with it. My only goal is to help people. That's what I mean by the uprising of the sleepwalking masses, just to help people see that there are other things going on in the world. And that's what I've devoted my life to studying. So love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day, and I hope to see you in our community.